The U.S. Air Force carried out a test of a Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile today. The launch had been delayed in an effort to cool escalating tensions between the U.S. and China as Beijing made its shows of force near Taiwan. Earlier this month, during Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the island, China deployed several planes and fired live missiles into the Taiwan Strait. Beijing has repeatedly condemned the trip. Lucy Kraft has been closely following all this from Tokyo, and she joins us now. Lucy, good to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning. What is the U.S. Air Force saying about this test launch? Was it intended to send a message to Beijing?
Well, the Air Force issued a statement calling the Minuteman III missile test a routine nuclear force exercise that had been planned well in advance. The Air Force says the test was not a response to recent events, presumably referring to the fury in Beijing over the recent visit of House Speaker Pelosi to Taipei. In fact, the Minuteman test had actually been delayed for several weeks in order to avoid further escalating tensions across the Taiwan Strait.
So, as we know, China has imposed sanctions on Taiwanese politicians today. What kind of impact are we talking about here?
So the sanctions targeting Taiwan's de facto ambassador to the U.S. and 6 others who Chinese state media have branded die-hard Taiwan independent separatists bar the officials and their families from entering the mainland, Hong Kong, and Macau. But this appears to be a symbolic gesture since Taiwanese officials don't travel to mainland China anyway. There have been other token gestures of retaliation by Beijing. After the Pelosi visit, China stopped exporting sand used in construction to Taiwan and stopped importing some Taiwanese farm products. None of these would have any significant impact on Taiwan's economy. The two countries are so highly integrated that punishing trade sanctions against Taiwan would end up damaging key sectors of the Chinese economy.
Lucy, China's central bank cut interest rates yesterday. What impact will that have on the nation's and the global economy?
Well, in a word, no one's really sure. China's growth has been tanking, fueled by a real estate slump worsened by mortgage boycotts. The property sector accounts for about 1/3 of gross domestic product. So homebuyers refusing to pay for partly finished homes has had a chilling effect on new sales. But property distress is only part of what's ailing the Chinese economy. President Xi's determination to stamp out every case of COVID, his so-called zero COVID strategy, has kept people out of hospitals, but at enormous cost as businesses shuttered and huge swaths of the population were locked down. A rate cut likely won't be enough to solve these structural issues. And of course, it's not just China's problem. A Chinese downturn risks sending the world into a recession.
Lucy, let me ask you about this Chinese military ship that is docked in Sri Lanka despite opposition from India. Explain why this was a delicate decision, tough position for Sri Lanka to be in.
The Chinese vessel, Beijing says it's just doing maritime research, but Indian media are calling it a spy ship, has been described by experts as a cutting-edge space tracking ship designed to keep eyes on satellite, rocket, and intercontinental ballistic missile launches. But Sri Lanka is between a rock and a hard place. Just last month, you'll recall, protesters stormed the presidential palace and jumped into the swimming pool over the country's worst ever economic crisis. Sri Lanka is reliant on aid from both India and China. It's trying to thread the needle between the two regional behemoths and has allowed the ship to dock for only 3 days in order to take on supplies.
All right, Lucy Kraft, thank you for your reporting. We appreciate it.
Thank you.